This is the Virtual Solar Pro Podcast with your host, Jarrett McAllister.
What's up and welcome to the Virtual Solar Pro Podcast. I am your host, Jarrett McAllister, and I want you guys to buckle your seatbelts for today's episode. We're about to deep dive with one of the biggest names in the solar industry. Now, his journey started with humble beginnings, knocking on doors for over a decade, and has since climbed every rung of the ladder, gaining expertise in building sales organizations and even owning stakes in these companies. His consulting expertise extends from startups to multi-billion-dollar enterprises. Now, his influence extends far beyond the boardroom. He has walked on stages nationwide as a sought-after speaker, captivating audiences with his passion for clean energy. Not only has he launched the largest residential solar conference in the world, which is coming up here really soon, and we're going to get into that more here in just a minute. He's also the mastermind of the Excellence in Solar Awards, which sets the standard for industry recognition. With a track record of crafting unforgettable branding strategies and campaigns, he is sought after by top organizations for his high-end marketing services. But even with all these accolades and achievements, what truly matters to this man most? It's family. Whether it's camping under the stars with his son or catching waves in sunny California, get ready to be inspired. And I am fired up to introduce you to none other than Mr. Jake Hess. Man, welcome to the Virtual Solar Pro Podcast, bro.
That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That was great.
Dude, that got me inspired. I am fired up right now.
That got me inspired. Your energy kind of took it there. I was like, whoa. I love it.
I appreciate it, bro. And dude, thank you for taking out the time to come on the podcast. I know with all the stuff that you have going on, SolarCon is just a few weeks, from now. What are we, like a couple weeks out?
It's about 2 weeks out.
Yeah, I don't even know how you made time for this, but I appreciate it, and the audience appreciates it, man.
I did when you said that. I felt it. I was like, oh my God. I felt the panic. But my team has it. That's how I'm able to do it. Is I have a pretty amazing team, and I think the unique thing with them is we all see the same vision. We all see the same direction. So that's why I'm able to step away. Is they're awesome. They're amazing.
They are. And speaking of your team, shout out to Heather Lackey. Your EA, man, who, made this happen between the two of us. She's awesome.
She's freaking awesome. She's actually more than just my EA. She people don't know this, but she manages a lot of our social media accounts. Like the new one, we're split testing it right now, but it's called the Morning Energy Show. And she's managing that. It was fun to create it, but she's running that. She's running part of SolarCon and Excellence of Solar Awards. The woman can handle executives from all over the country, and a lot of us have egos, and she handles it beautifully. And all of our schedules, she's not just handling my schedule, she's handling executive schedules in this industry. And so thank you for shouting her out, because she's pretty incredible.
No, for sure. We'll have to have her on an episode of her own one of these times to talk about all you guys. That'll be a good one. What she has to do,
really
deal with all the big personalities.
Yeah.
So you just dropped 3 things right there, right? You mentioned SolarCon, of course, but you said the morning show. You doing a morning show or?
Oh yeah, it's called the Morning Energy Show. We have big plans for that after SolarCon, post SolarCon. Big plans for it. We even have a podcast station set up in the VIP room at SolarCon. But it's basically, I believe that the industry could use a little bit of transparency before, people jumping around making decisions on stuff. And I also think that, I don't think there's a platform where we can actually go on and really see in one particular place what's going on in our industry, whether it's our own businesses that we're running or some of the globally known stuff. Like we installed a ton of PV in Puerto Rico. Like it's not in our it's not our neighborhood. It's in our backyard. So like, how do we find this stuff out? And we've gotten a lot of feedback. People like showing it to their homeowners and they like showing it to their teams. They like scrolling through Instagram and seeing it. But yeah, it's just in its infancy stages right now, as we're doing all the split testing, but it'll be a bit more robust later.
Cool, man. That sounds exciting. And you said you're going to launch that after SolarCon?
It's already out. You can go on Instagram right now and see the Morning Energy Show. It's a bit crazy because I think right now there's only about 1,400 followers, but some of our videos have been played 19,000 times.
And I mean, what's important though is not the amount of followers necessarily, right? It's about the quality of those people who are following. Because as I'm sure you're aware, there are people who have huge followings, and half of them are, Russian bots or, paid
Yeah.
followers.
That's true.
So it's definitely about the quality of the people who are watching. And look, we're in kind of a niche industry. My podcast especially, right? It's like virtual solar sales. It just niches down. So it's not all about the large audience.
Yeah, some people think it's the amount of followers is what makes it, and we've learned through SolarCon and through all of our other brands, it has nothing to do with the followers. The real thing that you want is how many people can see the stuff you're putting out. And so when it does get shared that frequently and it has that many views, we know it's being dispersed. We can see the analytics on it. The followers literally does nothing. And some people think just because they have a ton of followers and maybe organic ones or maybe bots, they think because they have a lot of followers that it's of any value. And I've learned through social media, not to get into it, but I've learned through social media, the only value that a social media account actually has is if you can transact, if your people will spend money that are on your platform. You could have 900,000 users, and when you go to promote something, no one buys it, it doesn't matter, right? So that was nerding out a little bit on the social media side.
I love it. I was kind of anti social media for a little bit. Didn't want to really invest the time into it, engaging. I definitely don't get into those battles on the Solar Pro Facebook groups. I just don't have the energy or time for it. But being a virtual Solar Pro, I mean, social media is everything. I mean, it's essential, right? You have to have a brand. You have to have a presence to be able to, lead generation online. So I hired a social media manager. Shout out Kat Remax. That's my girl. She makes this whole thing possible. Without her, I'd be stuck on my phone doing all the all the posts and everything.
Yeah, it is crazy. Social media is kind of the way. And here you are on a podcast now, right? This is great. So I was going to say with SolarCon, we actually, people don't know this, we spent less than $1,000 in ads, even year one. All of these 3 years, we have spent less than $1,000, and all of the revenue that's come in, the millions that have come in from this, was just from social media. And SolarCon, to the point of followers don't mean much. You'll hear Gary Vee saying this at SolarCon too. We only have 3,000 followers for the SolarCon account, but it is on Instagram, but it is the only way that we market and advertise. So we know that the account has value despite low people because we can convert millions and millions of dollars from that account because we don't put ads anywhere else but our Facebook and Instagram account. That's it.
That's such a good point. And you would think, SolarCon being the largest conference in the industry, 3,000, you're like, oh, that's not a lot. But you get at least that many people attending, as you mentioned, people sharing the content, the value behind that. And the attendance is off the hook. I was there last year. It was my first year of SolarCon. That was wild.
Thank you for coming.
No, hey, thank you. No, that was good times. Saw some huge speakers. Hayes Bernard was on stage. That was awesome.
Yeah, smart man.
CEO of Goodly.
A lot of wisdom. Mm-hmm. Yeah, his
Brad
company...
Leah Brad Leah was one of the keynotes.
Bradley.
Bradley.
Mm-hmm. You would think it would be Leah, Lea. Why wouldn't you say Leah? It's
You,
Bradley.
I've always said Leah. I've heard people say Bradley. Leave it to Jake. He'll correct me. It's Bradley. And so next time I run into him, I'll make sure to pronounce it correctly.
Brad is the one that did, and I'm thankful he did because I'm like Leah. But I sat in his office. Joe's actually one that got the appointment, so I sat in his office. He goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Good." He's like, "All right, so you ready for the Bradley?" And I was like, "Oh, thank God."
Oh yeah, he made sure. I'm sure he gets that all the time.
Oh, maybe that was on purpose.
It sounds kind of intentional that he said it like that. But yeah, let's talk SolarCon, man. So it's not to get you all stressed out again, but it's in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it is.
It's
What's
coming.
happening?
Beautiful downtown Salt Lake, Utah. So this is year 3 or 4?
It's year 3. Mm-hmm.
Year 3. Year 3. How did this come about?
Oh man, kind of a sad story, but also kind of awesome.
Okay.
I had finished Helio Gold, which was the solar company that I had. I had finished that, and the reason I had finished that is I noticed this trend in the industry where I could educate my sales reps to a certain point, and then once they became educated, they to this point I'm talking about, they actually could just leave and go create their own sales org, and they learned that, and I didn't mind teaching it. In fact, it was my whole business model to increase their education and teach them how to convert and get referral based business. And in order to do that, we had to spend a lot of effort educating them, teaching them how to not get re-signed contracts. Also works really well when you're talking with an installer to become partners. Like, of course, I would not ask you to come do a site survey unless unless I knew that they were going to be home, or of course I wouldn't get re-signed contracts. I'm just going to design it right the first time. Of course I already knew there was an electrical upgrade. That's why I priced it the way that I did. When you can have that conversation with the contractors, they kind of understand you to be a professional and an outlier. And you don't have to negotiate red lines anymore because they understand that you are clean, fast, honest, and easy business. And when we taught that to our people, they understood the power that it had, and they ended up leaving. So it showed me the pathway for my next venture, and that would be to educate the solar industry that way. Because the whole reason I started doing all of this is I hated that my regionals above me had Bentleys and Range Rovers and big ass houses, and I was struggling. Hey, when's my next check coming in? Did that install? How did this happen? But they're rolling like that, and I was like, my goodness. When I learned what red lines were, or in your model, when I learned what cost of goods was, if you're in the power world, when I learned what my red line was, I didn't believe it at first. I was like, there's no way. It's not possible. I have not been getting paid this little, if that much is possible. And sure enough, it was. So I just felt like I needed to protect the sales reps and educate them. And you'll see me all over these channels put information out for free, and it's stuff that reps don't think they need, but they do. It would help them a lot. I'm rambling. Sorry, did that answer your question?
No, keep going. Yeah. I love it. I love it. No, I feel the solar bros out there in the industry, which there's a ton of them, need the big brother Jake Hesses of the world, right? To kind of be like, you guys, come on, and educate them and help them mature and become solar pros, right? So you're definitely providing tremendous value in that way to the industry. There's a lot of young bucks out there who are flashing money and cars, but they truly don't know what it takes, and that it can all get taken away real quick. And it takes someone like you with the experience to kind of show them the ropes and show them, how not to do it. So yeah, no, I think it's very important.
Funny. I actually went through, if that's the definition of a solar bro, I went through that. I wanted the flat. Honestly, that's why I got into the job. I was like, hold on, you can make how much money? And it's that concept. Like I can save the homeowner money and I make that much. Like for me, it was like, okay, finally I can start to get the things that I always wanted. And at that age, it was the flashy cars and the super nice clothes and fancy restaurants, flying places, vacations. Like I think it's okay. And I know that some people come down on people in this world for doing that. But when you're 25 years old and you have the ability to go travel to Europe with your group of friends because you have that kind of money, it's not going to continue the rest of your life. You will stop. Those friendships will dissipate. Everyone's going to go in their directions. They'll have kids. Then you're left with a whole nother circle of friends. And hopefully you do keep those same ones over time. I'm not saying that, but your new circle of friends when you get older, they might not have the ability to make that kind of money or understand even at that age what that lifestyle is like because they've been working a W-2 job and been fighting for an additional $2,000 a year of a raise or something, where $2,000 is like we can go out and make that in a day. And it's like, if these people are fighting for that for an entire year, how many years do they have to get to where I could sell 2 accounts? It's like, and so if you do make it to the level where you're able to be flashy and go out and you're at a young age, embrace the shit out of it. I wish I did more of it. I have different responsibilities now in a different group of friends, and they say it's lonely when you get to the top because and I think one of the reasons I talked to my buddy Rex Shade, I think one of the reasons he pointed it out was because people simply don't have that kind of money to be like, oh, dude, I got free time. Let's go hop on a flight to Vegas real quick, spend a couple days, then we'll come back and work our asses off again. And so Solar Bros, embrace the fun, push, grind, live the culture. That's the best part about knocking doors and doing sales or virtual. That's the best part. If you've done all of that and you are ready for the next level of sales, and that means probably referral based business, where you don't have to, grind and be in that culture anymore and get the iPads and the trips and when you don't need that anymore because you're more focused on family or you're more focused on quality time with a loved one or things like that, then yeah, maybe start pushing your way to learning some of this stuff I'm talking about. It's just a different type of level or mindset. It's not right or wrong. And I'm not saying that you said that, Jared. I'm just saying the industry kind of puts it out there that it's bad to party up and live like that. And I say it's not.
I have no problem with people living it up. I have no problem with people partying it up. Lord knows I have done my fair share. And that's for a Solar After Dark podcast episode where I can divulge all that.
Okay. I like it. Where's this one going?
Yeah. But no, trust me. I came from knocking on doors. I started knocking on doors when I was like 16, 17 years old. In 2002, I started knocking for ADT and did it for over a decade. High level. I ran van crews. Man, if solar was around back then, because I was making, I don't know, $400 or $500 on a sale, and I was in my young 20s. And, you scale that out. It's not exactly like the solar money that, people were making, but we were having fun and we were going out and I was making more money than some of my friends' parents. And I was in my young 20s.
That's what's up.
But I tell you what, if I was making solar money back then and I was young with an iPhone and social media, I probably would have been a solar, And when you say solar bro, I don't think anybody hates on making money and having fun and being young and crushing rock stars and knocking doors and your iPads and stuff like that. I think what people dislike is the online reputation of some of these people because it gives solar a bad name. It paints solar salespeople in a bad light. And when some of this stuff ends up making its way up to some big articles and magazines and paints a negative light on the industry, that's where older, mature sales reps kind of go, ooh, it's a little cringe at that point. Definitely not hating on anybody making money and having fun and partying and doing all that, but maybe not flash the Lambo and the stack of hundos on your IG
social media.
Yeah,
I wonder though. I wonder if that's them. I mean, they're born somewhere. And when I call myself Vivint born, I was Vivint born. I came from Vivint. That's where my background is, from doing this career path, right? But they were born somewhere. Someone got them into this culture. They didn't know solar, and all of a sudden they have this money, and they do. My question would be, who did that? Who is mom and dad in this situation? Like, who is the one that taught them that is the definition of success, or that's what the imagery of success looks like? And I would even say that that's actually some of the business owners' faults, not necessarily the bros. And I know we're talking casually here. I'm not meaning to attack your point. I'm just saying, for everyone out there, have some empathy, because these guys need to be shown the right way. They need the light. It is a fact. This is a fact, where larger corporations, the multi-billion-dollar ones, the hundreds of millions, it is an active strategy not to teach people what solar is all about. It is a literal strategy to keep them dumb, because, as I said at the beginning of this thing, the more I educated them, the more likely they were to leave. And you cannot scale and grow a company to that size if your people are constantly leaving to compete with you over the same quality, right? So these companies on purpose select the trainings that they do. People wonder why Sam Taggart's trainings are so popular in the industry, and why a lot of companies have them. These multi-billion-dollar organizations, if they were to create trainings teaching people how to knock doors and what to say, then as they were IPO'd or purchased or any of that, they're going to have a storm of attorneys combing through everything, all the contracts between all the W-2 employees, HR, the sales reps. They're going to scour through that, and they're going to also scour through the training content. And what we have found is it's actually smarter for companies not to create their own training content, because they're opening themselves up to massive amounts of liability with lawsuits, any time of discrepancy with the homeowner. What they will create on their own is compliance video training. Don't slap a homeowner in the face. We advise against that. Make sure you learn the tax credit. Like, they're gonna protect themselves. But a lot of the training comes from some of the people we call influencers in this industry, and the culture comes from that, and it's on purpose. So who do we really blame?
Bring up a good point there. Yeah, and a lot of these kids, they get brought on because of opportunity, like you said. They might have been working at a Denny's or a Verizon, or they might be struggling, and friends go, "Hey, I got an opportunity. We're going to take it. We're going to hit the road. We're going to Indiana. We're going to Florida. We're going to go knock some doors. It's called a blitz. We're going to all live in a house together, and we're going to make more money than you've ever made in your entire life in 3 months. How's that sound?" And it's the culture, and they get brought up. And like I said, you can't knock it. But, to move off the Solar Bro point, I think it's more so the image that it could paint the negative light in the industry. And for those of us who take this serious and aren't just going on a 90-day blitz, we want to protect the industry.
Yeah.
We see this for the long run.
That's what SolarCon is. I met sales, even myself, I never saw what an inverter was. I had been selling solar for 2 years. I hadn't seen an inverter up close. I'm like, whoa, that's what an N-phase inverter, I think it was like an N-phase IQ6 or something. And I'd never seen one. And the first time I did, in some other person's warehouse, like hundreds of miles away, I was like, no way. I did a FaceTime video. It was Nathan Scousins up in Sacramento. I'm like, this is an inverter, guys. And I thought, like, wow, in our whole country, in our whole industry, there's not a place where all of us can come and actually learn about the product from the horse's mouth. Like, I can't learn about a Solar Edge inverter unless I ask the people that I work with at my company. But if they are team Enphase, then I'll never get the truth about, I'll never get an unbiased truth about Solar Edge, right? I would rather go learn about Solar Edge versus Enphase, or Enphase versus Solar Edge, from someone that doesn't have the agenda of pushing one product over another. A lot of times these companies partner with or go exclusive with these banks, because the banks give them a big payment to do it, like here's millions of dollars as a loan, essentially, if you promise exclusivity to us and keep pushing the volume through us, and then we'll get our money back slowly that way. But it gives a big influx of capital to the bank. But because there is that I have to do this now. Now we start teaching people that bank is the best, that solar panel is the best, that inverter is the best. And that's where you get this fighting that happens on the Facebook groups. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Neither do you. And it's like, I wanted to create a place where it was a safe haven for people to actually come and learn the truth about solar directly from the horse's mouth, and find out how people are actually doing things in this industry. And there's a lot of fear out there of sending sales reps to an environment like that.
I was just going to say that, like, if I was a sales organization and I had like maybe even just a setter, closer model, and I had a bunch of young bucks going out there just setting appointments for me, and it was going well, probably the last place I'd want them to go to is SolarCon.
I know.
All of a sudden,
isn't that
they
sad?
peek behind the curtain. They go, "What?"
Isn't it sad? And it's like, and that's when it becomes more about the dollar. That's, if people aren't bringing their people, because if you're truly the leader of these people, if you are truly the person that's like, I'm going to guide them to success. Well, where does that stop? The moment you stop making money off of them? Is that where that stops? Is that why we're not coming to SolarCon, but you are? You know what I mean? That's like interesting to me, because people want to advertise that they're all about like transparency and that they're all about improving the industry, until it starts to affect their bank account. And then it's like, oh, no. Let's leave that team. Let's leave them working. And let's just go. We'll learn this stuff. And it's like, wow, it's sad.
Yeah, we're gonna go, and we'll take good notes, and we'll come back, and we'll teach you guys everything. You guys don't want to miss days of knocking on doors, anyways. You know what I mean? You'll lose money. We'll come back, and we'll give you the highlights.
Yeah.
That's where greed comes into play, right? Because if you're running your organization with integrity, you are being transparent. You're not being greedy. You should embrace bringing your organization to SolarCon. Let them see what the other options are out there. If you're confident in what you have to offer to the market, I feel most of their biggest fears are they're going to get their reps poached. And why would a rep go from one company to the other? You see a lot of it's because, they're red line hopping, right? A little bit lower of a red line. I don't think necessarily a red line is always going to bring reps over, but it's like, are you bringing quality training? Are you transparent? Do you have leadership? And you'll see a lot of the OGs in the industry. They go, you guys stop hopping around chasing red lines.
Absolutely stop.
It's not good. If you have a company that's paying the lowest red line, guess what? First of all, that company's probably not around anymore.
Yeah, the red line hopping thing is just a whole, for me, going back to that topic, the people that are speaking on some of these stages, they're not bringing their teams. They believe in education. They believe in the platform. They believe it is the place to be. They want to speak to it. They want to speak to the changes happening in the industry. They're not bringing their teams. Are you kidding me? Right? And this whole red line shopping thing, maybe I think there's 4 elements to a red line, or 4 elements to profitability of a project if you're selling it. One of them is the red line. You're forgetting the other 3. What are the terms in the contract, for example? In one contract at one company, it could say that all permits and site surveys and all that stuff is included in the red line. And in another contract at another company, it can say that here's your red line, but we'll charge you this much for your permits. Or here's your red line and you don't have any adders. That's my favorite one. At our company, we don't have adders. Yes, you do. They've increased the red line to cover the expenses of it. A Snickers bar, if you were to break it down, chocolate, nougat, caramel, peanuts, whatever else is in there. If you were to break it down, peanuts cost $1 amount. So does the nougat, so does the caramel, so does the chocolate. That dollar amount does not change. And so if you package all of that up and sell it, marketing is the only thing that changes after that, for the price point that you sell it at. So same with solar. If you have solar panels, racking, and inverters, and you go buy those from a distribution center, those are pretty well the same cost for everyone out there, depending on the volume that they buy or the deal they have. But the variance is so small. It's so small. And so how can one company be at $1 red line and another one be at $4? Like, how is that possible? It's not. They're hiding it in the other three elements. They've increased the additional adder fees. Like an electrical upgrade should only maybe cost like $3,000, but they're making it 3,600. Things. And that number, don't read too much into it if you're listening now, because that will always change over time with inflation and cost of materials and all that. But it's important to know what those expenses are, what the adders are, what's in the contracts, because everyone wants to go shop a red line, but you're forgetting to shop the profitability of the project overall. And that is where you make the most money, is if you understand the things I'm telling you trying to train on. And it's not just me, there's a whole army of people doing it. But if you're trying to understand those things, then you actually will get paid more. I would choose the contract that has a $3 red line and omits a lot of other stuff than I would a $1 red line that has a whole bunch of stuff in it. I would do the math first. Obviously, I do my homework. Stop red line shopping. Go shop for those 4 categories.
Amen to that. And, I didn't even know what a red line was when I got into the solar industry. So full disclosure, when I got into it, I was introduced to Powur. It was like 2019, summer of 2019. They had just switched over their business model. It looked like EXP Realty, but for the solar world. And they used the term cost of goods. And it was based on transparency and total net profit. So whatever it is, like, hey, there is cost to this project. Your panels, your racking, your inverters, your permits, whatever that cost, that true transparent cost is, anything above that is margin.
Yeah,
and we're going to give 70% of whatever that margin is to the sales rep. That made a ton of sense to me. I said, all right, I like that. And when you do a true cost of goods model, whatever the net profit is at the end of the project, sometimes it goes down based on the market and price of panels, things like that. But sometimes it goes up, right? Sometimes cost of panels go down between the time you sold it and then when you ended up procuring the equipment. And then so now your margin goes up. And so that attracted me to the company that I'm with, was the transparency there. And then I started hearing these red line. I was like, what the fuck is a red line? I don't get it. Mm-hmm. And I understood, now I get it, why people are chasing red lines. And I understand why companies are doing a red line, because they're packing in all their profits ahead of time and then saying, hey, we'll give you anything above this.
Yeah, and cost of goods is arguably the same. Cost of goods plus 30%. That 30% margin is set to pay your mentors and set to pay, right? Same with the red line. Paying your managers, district managers, all that's in there too. It's if you're 100%. If you're adding a percentage on top of cost of goods, then so are they. But their red line is this number because they have to pay all the people training you and educating you and all the overrides associated with it. Same with the 30%. To me, it's a whole bunch of semantics in marketing, because the math is the math. The cost of the panels is the cost of panels. Whatever you sell it at, minus the dealer fees, minus the cost of the goods, like paying off your people above you that deserve to earn money off of you, like it's all the same.
Yeah, and also you want your solar company to make money. If you think you should earn all the money and managers don't deserve anything and there's no overhead cost, you're going to find yourself working for you're going to find yourself on the Solar Pros page being like, this company owes me all this money, because they're out of business. They can't pay their reps anything, and let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about the industry right now. We're looking at, it's April 3rd, 2024. We're just hitting Q2. Last year was wild, with increased rates and inflation, and a lot of smaller EPCs, going down, a lot of people not getting paid. Where's this heading, Jake?
Yeah. I'm not in the C-suite of these banks. I'm not the CFO. I'm not the CEO. But I do get to hear a lot of these conversations. I'm in them almost daily. But I can't talk about what they're going to do. I can just talk about what the conversations around are happening. And one of the most intriguing things to me is, I wrote about this in one of the groups, but when that percentage changed, the Federal Reserve has a certain value of what, interest rates should be. But when those percentages change from 2.9 to 4.9 or something like that, that ladder, that step that just adjusted 2.9 to 4.9, it devalued the contract before it. It's not worth as much. These companies, they sell the paper. We call it selling the paper. They take your contract and sell it for a valued amount, whatever that might be. And if you increase the percentage on another contract, well, yeah, that one's now worth more. But with inflation happening, maybe it's now worth only the same rate that your 2.9 was until inflation happened. The way they adjusted was the interest, because now it can sell at the rate that they need it to get that money, and which devalues the other one. And so banks started realizing they were losing money over and over and over. And this is where the polarization comes in our industry right now, is these banks, some people believe they changed the terms on all of these installers. And I would probably on the side that agrees. They took M1s away. That's not the big deal. They took M1s away. Companies shouldn't realize an M1 payment, and neither should sales reps. You dirty people, you should know that that's an advance. If the project gets, yeah.
And listen, when money was free, right? Essentially, right? When it was dirt cheap, why not hook your boy up, right? Hey, I'll give you a little advance. It didn't cost me anything to do so. Now you want to take a loan out for a couple grand, you're paying big time interest on that. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's an advance. It's a loan.
It's an advance, and it's an advance to the install companies as well. And the install companies took that money and they started spending it. One of the reasons they spent it is these sales reps, these sales orgs started becoming really, really big and kind of spread throughout the country. When I first started, I'm attributed to being the one that started the red line model for the whole country. I assure every listener on here I was not that person. But it was already around, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. That is for absolute certain. So when that started happening, the precedents changed and the recruiting changed. Now they were taking that M1 payment and giving portions of it to these sales orgs or to these sales reps because they've learned it and they became entitled to it. So we're using borrowed money to build a company, a sales org, and now we're promising them part of this. And so it became this chain effect where it was reliant because it became reliant. You could not go work at a company if they weren't going to give you an upfront payment. Okay, next. And so these companies, they had overhead and install crews, so they had to adjust it. Okay, I guess we'll do it too. And when these banks were given the M1s and then they took it away, that's okay. Technically, these companies shouldn't be realizing it as revenue because they know it could potentially be taken back. Where it really hurt the industry, where the pain really came from, is the bank basically said, to my understanding, and what I have seen, because I did forensic audits of tons of companies across the country that were going out of business, the banks literally said, we won't release the money from those installs that happened because we need the money for those M1 payments. We need those we gave you money for M1 for these projects, and they're not completed yet. You haven't taken them to install, and it's past the duration of time. Like, understood. But you are holding money that our contract says that you should give to us because those have been installed, and we need that money to finish this. And the terms that they changed was they said, well, we won't give you this money until you finish these projects because the timeline here says, and like, well, give us the money you owe us. And the banks were basically like, nah. They needed a way when it went from 2.9 to 3.9 or 4.9. They needed a way to make that money back that they were losing. They needed a way to do it. And a lot of people in our industry believe that was the demise of these hundreds of companies that went out of business. Yes, they realized the revenue at the wrong point. However, the banks were also saying, hey, we understand how solar goes. We know you need the capital. We're here to save you. We're your team. Here's the M1 payments. And then they go and change the terms later. That murdered us. It murdered us with the expectations of sales believing that they deserved it. Like it's not the bank's fault, right? It's a whole understanding of the industry, which is why regulation comes in. So the pendulum swung from the loan side, all the interest rates going up, all the sales reps all of a sudden that just were like, loan is the only way to. I almost got murdered one time, probably.
That was me.
Loan was the only way, and I whispered, you could go back and trace it. I whispered, no, guys, you should learn TPO products too. Sometimes it's good. I got attacked it was like, I felt like Shrek and the villagers were coming after me with pitchforks and fire. I was like, oh my God, delete. Oh my God, delete it.
Oh,
I was
man.
like cancel cultured almost. And what happened was when these loans, when the pendulum swung from that loan all the way to the TPO side of things, TPO meaning third party ownership, leases and PPAs, when it swung over there, the only way that TPO products work in our industry is there's some rich guy that has earned so much money that owes the IRS tons of money, but he has cash in the bank, or woman these days, right? Women are killing it, but they have this money and they can go and take this 30% tax credit. Let's say it's a $30,000 system. 30% is $9,000. They'll take the $9,000 tax credit, take Sunrun, for example, and says, we don't need this tax credit because we don't have the liability for it. So they take the $9,000 and then they sell it to someone that has money that needs it for a discounted price. Maybe they give them $6,000. So now the person that gave them the $6,000 has a $9,000 credit. They just saved $3,000, right? And so these large organizations, Everbright, Sunrun, Sonova, they have tax equity partners, but because this pendulum swung so fast, so quickly from the loan and banking side or ownership side to the third party ownership side, that tax equity is getting depleted at a rate that the industry has never seen. Tax equity partners were not prepared for. Money is being dried up. People are leaving large organizations, for example, Everbright, and moving to other ones. But the big grab right now, is tax equity. That's the big grab. At SolarCon, you're going to see 4 or 5 new banks that are coming in there that anticipated this, that went and found tax equity. And now they're coming in because now they are a solution to these larger companies not being able to fulfill. And there are large companies in this country right now that are being told, you need to slow down production. We cannot fulfill your TPO products. So where are we going to be? I think we're going to see another 2023. I think we're about to go through another filtration system here soon.
Oh, man. That's a bummer too, because when you talked about cash was the only way to, or I'm sorry, purchase was the only way to go. That's all I knew when I came into the industry. In 2019, money was, like I said, was free. 0.9, 1.9. Why not own the solar outright, right? And I heard from the days before I had gotten in, it was these leases and these bad contracts, and it sounded like a nightmare. And I'm like, well, I don't offer that. I offer ownership, right? And so I sold myself on selling against leases and PPAs, and I think a lot of people did. So now all of a sudden, interest rates go up. The numbers aren't making as much sense, and we're being told, hey, you've got to think about TPO. What the heck is TPO? Right.
That's what I'm saying. Did you sell yourself on the loan and ownership? Was that you that was like, you never done solar before and you're like, my God, I'm going to take a stance on ownership? Like,
100%.
That was that you?
That was
or was it the company that you were working with that said, hey, this is the way to go? Because now the company is now saying, oh no, TPO. And you're like, what is that? Now you're getting fed a different Kool-Aid.
Sure. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was necessarily, where I was at was the company that was saying to do this, because we offered both. It just seemed like the more logical choice at the time. Like, why wouldn't you go through ownership if you could own it outright, and and the cost, it made sense. But yeah,
TPO,
no, the pendulum has definitely.
TPO at that time, I was selling. You can go talk. I just was on the phone with Jack Pastrana. He only sold leases and PPAs. He said I had only done about 4 loans ever. But then I had Melissa Ramiza on the same call because it was a panel that we're going to do at SolarCon. And she said, that's crazy because here in Colorado, we only sold loans and we never sold TPO. And what I'm trying to say is somebody didn't teach both. The reason there was and I'm not speaking for you, Jarrett, because sure, what you're expressing here is the sentiment of many. Yours might be individually different. But what I found in the masses was they were leaning towards ownership because it did make the most sense, because that's what they were taught. Someone didn't teach them how TPO could make just as much sense, if not more, for some homeowners, not all. But I think the stat out there, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I think the stat out there is only about 45% of Americans actually qualify for the tax credit. And if you apply, let's assume the homeowner doesn't qualify for the tax credit, even in the rain-making days of loans, when interest rates were low and dealer fees were low, even in that day, the difference between a TPO product and an ownership was about $10, $15, $20 a month. But when they don't qualify for that tax credit, it actually, if you remember, after month 18, they're going to take an assessment. Did you apply it or not? The monthly payment jumps higher than a TPO product with hardly any of the protections. There is no rate production guarantee on these loans. There's not.
And most people, like you said, most people don't qualify. Like, especially right now, who do you know with a system, 10 kilowatt with, 2 batteries and, they got a $15,000, $18,000. Who has that type of tax liability? Most people don't. If you do, you need to get a new CPA because that's a lot of tax liability. No, and so like you said, pendulum has definitely swung. It's I think there was just someone asked on Facebook just earlier, like, hey, are you guys, what percentage of your guys' sales are TPO? And I said 70%, maybe even closer to 80% right now. It's great value for the homeowner. I wish I would have known it back then. I did do a few, like you said, especially for the retired couple, doesn't have tax liability, fixed income. For sure, TPO is the way to go every time. But in California, with M3 and batteries being fully cycled on every single home and project every night, and a lot of TPO offerings, 25-year warranties on those, makes a ton of sense.
I want to put a question out there for everybody, right? It's hopefully you can reflect on this a little bit, but whether you were pro loan or pro ownership or not, whatever you sold. Sorry, I'm going to rephrase this. If you were pro ownership, and Jarrett, maybe you can speak for everybody here. If you were pro ownership, why did that change when the pendulum swung to PTO? Because the concept and the theory of owning your solar did not. Was it because of the price? Are we all selling on price? And if it is the price, earlier on this episode, you spoke about how much commission can be made, and we have the solar bros, and we have flashy cars and money, and solar money is higher than it was for home security and all of this stuff. If you truly had a conviction of ownership, why did that change? What should have changed if you truly believed in it was your commission. Because if you truly believe that you're putting a homeowner in a better position on ownership, why did the pendulum shift over to TPO or PTO? Lower your commission if that's your conviction.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I still believe ownership is the best. In my mind, I like the idea of owning your system outright, right? Taking ownership of it. You're going to get your best ROI if you could pay it off cash, or the sooner you could pay it off, no interest, right? That's taking the power back. I do believe in that. When interest rates went up so high, not everybody can pay cash for a system outright, if they're going to do a loan, and high interest rates, creating these higher monthly payments, homeowners were not realizing immediate savings. I continued to let them know, hey, listen, one of the benefits of these loans is that there's no prepayment penalty. And you're not stuck in this loan forever, and you can always refinance it in the future. Rates are not always going to be 8, 9, 10%. But homeowners, I think, for the most part, unfortunately, are kind of short-sighted. They want to see immediate savings, right?
That's what I'm talking about. So lower your commission, make $500 on the job. Don't change your conviction and your beliefs and what you choose to be better for the homeowner. And if you truly believe ownership is the best way, then match the PPA by lowering your commission.
Yeah, I don't know if you could lower it enough to justify the work that goes into that project for that length of time. Right. If you're being a good solar consultant for your clients, I don't just sign it, forget it, and my clients don't see me. I hold their hand. It could be, multiple months process. I see what you're saying, Jake. Like, if you truly have that conviction, be willing to make the least, less money.
Well, the other side of it is if you say like you need to be paid for your job and being and good at what you do, then why are we selling on savings? Shouldn't we be selling on value? Right. And so now you can raise the price up to maybe something that you think it should be, and that's fair for your time and for theirs,
Sure.
and sell off of value instead of savings. And that's the polarization. Do I believe in it, or do I need the money? Or do I believe that I should sell off savings, or do I believe in the product? Like it's a back and forth. And I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here today. I'm just putting it out there as a question for people to think about. Where is your convictions? What is your true belief? And I think that if people can nail that down and hammer it down, I think they'll make more, because I think they'll be, you know what, I am okay because I believe in this and I'm charging $2,000 more because I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about it, right? And I think that will come out to homeowners a bit more. But I think what's happening is people are swaying based on the things that they hear on this podcast or at home, rather than truly like going inside and looking in the mirror, like, what do I actually believe in? How can I make this work for me and for them? And if it is selling for a higher rate and not showing instant savings, then I should probably refine my sales practices a bit or something.
Sure.
This is just for the masses out there to think about, more theoretical than anything.
Yeah. And, and what I teach my reps is to do what's best for the homeowner, and it doesn't need to be one or the other. Show them what their options are. Let them decide what makes the most sense for them and their situation. Because it's not one size fits all. Well, absolutely. It's how it should be. Thank you.
Straight.
Yeah, for sure. Right on, man. Well, let's move on. I want to talk about the Excellence of Solar Awards. This is something new that you've put together. Tell the audience what is this?
Yeah, it's an award. So if you think of science or academics, math, things like that, you've got the Nobel Peace Prize, right? If you think about the prestigious award for vehicles, you have J.D. Power and Associates, and we can all probably think of other awards. One of my favorite awards, and one of the most entertaining for me, and usually the only time I create anything is if I believe in it, like we talked about, or if I had a good feeling from it, or I think other people should experience that in life. That's the fun part for me. Oh. And so one of my favorite awards is, why not the Academy Awards, right? Why not the fun of Hollywood? Why not do that? The red carpet, gala dresses, tuxedos. Like, if this is truly our career, if this is what we chose, because when we were little kids, maybe we wanted to be an astronaut, but we grew into this and we stuck with it. This is our career. Guys my age, at 41, this is likely going to be my career, or something surrounding what I'm doing right now. And so if solar is the career of these people taking it seriously, then where's their awards? Where's their stage? Where's their accolades? Who's giving them time to be focused on the news, or have the news focus on them for something that they did great, or some philanthropic work, or the ability to create a software that is revolutionary, that helps everyone? Where's our award? And so before in January, right before Door to Door Con, and I did get Sam's blessing. He's become an awesome mentor for me. Where I threw a gala, it's called the League of Influencers Gala. I had everyone come in their gala dresses from all across the country, and we took videos and photos and red carpet and balloons and live band and everything.
Where was this at?
It was in Salt Lake, right before Door to Door Con.
Okay.
And it was about 150 of the most powerful people in solar. And we recorded them in that atmosphere. And we used that imagery to start to paint the picture of what our awards look like. A lot of what I do has multiple purposes when I do it. All of these brands I'm creating feed business to each other. The news is certainly going to be promoting SolarCon, right? And some of the other brands. So my thing is, when I recorded these things, it was to bring a feeling and an experience to the industry that they deserve. Honestly, I know how hard it is to build a business and how impactful it is to people's lives to work in it. I know that. And so where's the award? Michael O'Donnell's out there kicking butt, Jonathan Budd, Jim Bunch, like all these, and I mentioned them because you work at Powur. All these people, like, where is their award? They're doing great things. So there's no rule about creating an award. It's just the cojones to do it. right? And so I decided to step up and make one. And the crazy thing about marketing is you can make it anything that you want it to be. These media teams that I use, they're just sharp tools. They're tools that you can utilize, but they don't know what they're making. Like they don't, if it's wood, they don't know if they're making a house or a boat. You have to have a vision. You have to tell them what it needs to look like. You have to put the things together, create the content. Like there's so much that goes into it. And if you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars doing that and put it out there, it doesn't mean that the country's necessarily going to accept it. A lot of things have looked flashy. Clubhouse came around for a long time, if you remember that.
I remember that.
It died. Not everyone accepted it. So there's a lot of risk in this type of a thing. But the Excellence in Solar Awards is meant to help heal the industry. Data is one of the most important things that we can utilize in our businesses, our KPIs when we're out knocking doors, we're selling virtually, how many people I meet, where do I need to improve, where did I lose them? Same thing on a business level or on a national or global level. These awards are global. On a global level because we need to know the numbers. And our solar industry does not have a way of collecting them. We're not part of the census. So how do we collect it? How do we know what the best practices are so we can avoid going out of business and say, hey, this is what this company did, or these are the trends that we're seeing, so maybe you should adjust. And sales reps might be getting paid more if the companies had clear vision and insight into the economics of the industry or best practices. And so the awards are just that. They were actually designed to collect data. Ohm Analytics is the largest data collection resource in the country for solar. And they have partnered with us because they're going to legitimize these awards with the best of our ability to collect this data and refine it. We can collect the data just fine. Refining it and putting it in the buckets it needs to be to gamify it. Gamify is involved as well. To gamify it so people can see who the winners are and how many margins they won by, and do a voting system for the whole country. I'm sorry, for the whole world. It takes a lot of marketing and a lot of work, but the crazy part is people still might not accept it. So that's going to be my other job in 2024, is have that to be accepted.
Well, we'll see. I have a good feeling about it though. For those who are doing good and doing things the right way, it's good to give them their flowers, acknowledgement. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants a pat on the back. I mean, as a sales guy for 20 plus years, all I ever want is just to be told, good job.
Yeah.
Right. Great job. You did awesome. One of the biggest things I ever won was the award. I won #1 closer in the state of California.
Is that it right there?
Puppy right here.
That's
#1 closer, state of California, this beautiful trophy. I did it all 100% virtually from North Idaho. That was all that meant so much to me. As you can see, I have it in my background. I'm so proud of that award. I think that's awesome to put that together, and it's going to inspire these companies, to do great things and to be the best. And then they're going to be able to, showcase these accolades. I think that's rad, man.
Yeah, thank you. We're all excited about it. There's 6 categories, like install, manufacturing. And the reason I keep saying global is because we've got Q-Cells in there. We've got Longi. We've got all these different organizations that are going to be applying for these, and they've already expressed it. We've already had these phone calls. And so now we can create an award system globally, but kind of like you're super proud of having it. This is your career, right? Surely you should be edified in it. And we're not trying to compete with Sam Taggart or Danny Pessy's Setter Closer Tour and those awards he gives. Those are awesome. Our sales component, our sales award doesn't encompass those things. We can't really track who has the volume, but we can set parameters about other things, like, for example, who does volume and doing great things in the industry and is a good example on social media and says the true stuff, right? And we can combine those 4 and say, this is Salesman of the Year, because it's a whole bunch of qualities that we actually need in this industry. And so the volume, the door-to-door, the Golden Door Awards that Taggart has for volume, don't necessarily need to measure that. He's already doing it. That feels great. Everyone loves it. We just want to help the industry to see things. And one of my favorite ways that we're doing that with the awards is the media award. I went to Obviously I don't work at any company, so I don't have any bias or agenda, but I went to a legacy. It's one of the fun parts. I get to go to all the different companies' things. I went to a legacy big convention that they had. Tim Tebow came to speak. It was like a big deal. It was like a little mini SolarCon for their company. And they did it beautifully. And they played these videos that just were like Super Bowl quality grade videos. Beautiful messages, awesome editing. I spent a lot of time in this stuff in this world now of editing and video content. It was one of the best videos I had ever seen. And it had one of the best messages, and the hashtag was build here. And it went through and talking about community and where people can grow their career, and where they can get income and money and advice for future growth. And it was like, just build here. This is the place to do that. Hashtag build here. Beautiful message, beautiful video. And I thought, I was watching this and I was like, that's crazy. I wonder if I could have the industry watch all of these from all the different companies. Because if I did, then let's say SunPower sees that video, or let's say Powur sees that video, because you work at Powur. Powur sees that video, like, oh, we need to step up our damn game. If that's going out there and people are starting to see this, then we better create it too. Layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And now we've actually created a media outlet, a media place where our industry can actually go see companies and what they're doing. Because if a battery comes out from, like, let's say SunPower, how do we find out about it unless we're following SunPower's Instagram account? Like, how do we do that?
Or someone on the Solar Pros says, this is the best battery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no one knows about it. So Wouldn't it be cool if there was a place where people could promote stuff? And wouldn't it be cooler? Because everyone says, oh, no, that's accurate information. No, that's accurate information. Wouldn't it be cooler if all of these influencers that were putting media out there were getting an award for it? It would entice both sides. The bad side, the one giving the false information, because they think it's right. They would start spending money on social media, put it out there because everyone else is, because that's the bar that's being raised. And visually and publicly, they would be corrected immediately, which would correct a lot of policies in the industry. So one of my favorite awards is the media award, because I think if it takes off the way that we believe it will transform our industry.
Well, it has some of the biggest influence in the industry, with meat, and it's very much encouraging people to do it the right way and rewarding them for doing it the right way, which helps out the whole industry as a whole, getting correct information out there.
Yeah.
Love it, man.
That's right. You get it.
No, that's some high level stuff, dude. So you have the awards going, SolarCon, the Good Energy Show. Any other projects you're working on?
Yeah. There's some new projects I'm working. I'm going to be doing a live book. So I've got a ghostwriter, because a lot of people, they want to learn how to write a book, or that's one of their goals. And it's a bit daunting. It's a bit scary. How do I start? How do I do it? So I'm actually this year going to put it on social media. I'm just going to make it live. I'm going to have my ghostwriter on. I'm going to make it live. I'm literally going to train someone solar that has never done solar before, live in front of people. And they're going to take that and they're going to write a book, a training manual for it. And many of you have seen that in the groups already, the beginning origins of that. When I show the electrical adders for beginners, it's not biased. You go in there and you can actually read tips and tricks why contractors do things, or how you can help them, or why there's a charge for it. And imagine, as a sales rep, you have like a college style textbook of solar, and a homeowner's like, all right, well, I'm wondering if we could do, 33 panels on my ground mount. Like, ooh, you don't want to do 33. You want it divisible by 4. Well, why? Yeah, I don't really know. Let's look. And they pull out this book and they go to it. You want it divisible by 4 because blah, 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 blah. And like, oh, okay. So if you do end up doing, 33, then you're going to have your perfect clean array, because they stack it landscape 4 high. That's the cheapest and most efficient for the racking. 4 high landscape means they don't have to lose as much on the racking. And also, if it's divisible by 4, that's a good enough height where it's not going to be because it's at an angle. Got to use the Pythagorean theorem on this one. How high is it from the ground? Am I going to be able to drive my car and RV underneath it if I make it 6 high, or should it be divisible by 4 because that's a good height for a ground mount? And so if you do it divisible by 4, and you sold 33 panels, now you're going to have this perfect clean array with one panel sticking off to the side, right? You may as well tell the homeowner right there in the house, oh, that's why. So do you guys want to do 32 panels, or do you want to do 36 panels? Right? And that's a conversation, a simple, normally in the house, I don't do that explanation because I know it, but other sales reps don't know it. So wouldn't it be awesome to have a neutral source that was true and accepted by the whole country? Like, yeah, it's actually, yeah, it's a good idea. And now the homeowners don't think you're pulling one over because it's not from your company. It's an actual guide for the whole industry. W-2 employees, sales reps, managers, people that don't know it. Customer service, they get on the phone. Hey, what do we do about this? Let me look real quick. And so you guys are starting to see the beginning origins of that, but you're actually literally going to watch me training someone live on Facebook. And so if you wanted to tune in every time, you would literally have all the knowledge I do from these. Or you can go watch the videos instead of buy the book. Doesn't matter to me.
That's sick, man. So you're doing this live on Facebook. So is it going to be a video, or are you doing text, or?
I'm literally going to click Facebook Live.
Oh, okay. You're going Facebook Live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are you going to have someone, or are you talking to the audience like they're the brand new rep?
So I'm going to do it through StreamYard. You're using software Riverside right now, but your Riverside software allows you to select the areas that you want this to be posted, right? And so I can select, I want this to go on YouTube. I want this to go on Facebook Live. I want this to go on my Facebook group. I can select all of those things, and while I record it, it will simultaneously upload to those locations, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I'm going to do is when I do it Facebook Live, I will have my ghostwriter on just like you're on with me here, and I will literally be training her solar. And the reason I want to train someone that knows nothing about solar is because I want the questions, as if they were a brand new rep and they didn't understand solar at all. I want her to ask, well, what do you mean net metering? Oh, good. Let me explain that. Right. And because I might be so used to it that I'd ramble on, but we need someone that doesn't know it. And now we can create a textbook or a guide or whatever you want to call it for anyone else that comes in the industry, and have a source of truth that all companies accept. And so because it is on Facebook Live, we will be looking at the comments. And if someone asks, well, how does that work? That only strengthens the book, because she might not have thought about it. And that's why we're doing it live on a social media platform, because I want the engagement. And if it's a good enough question that we put in there, we will cite them in the book. It's kind of fun.
Where'd you come up with this idea?
I don't know. I just did. I've been wanting to do this book for some time. It's how I have those PDF templates that I've been posting everywhere. I've been wanting to do it for about 2 years now. And finally, now that Heather's with me, Heather's the one, she actually has a background in writing. She actually graduated college for creative writing and the ability to write this way. It's her profession. It's what she went to school for. And she writes a lot of our stuff, like that intro that you gave me. She's great at it. And so she's going to do this. And she also doesn't know solar, and she's already my employee. So I get to do, this is like the perfect time to do it. It's like the perfect recipe, right?
Love it. And yeah, and the technology is at your fingertips to do it too. There has never been a better time to do this. And the industry needs it. The industry needs it, man.
I think it'll be a fun project, whether it takes off and everyone buys it like those books you have right there, whatever. I don't know. But at least I'll have created it, and that's something that I can be proud of.
Yeah. Writing a book is definitely it's on a lot of people's bucket lists. I think it's very intimidating. The thought, what all goes into it. We're not all great writers, but a lot of us are better talkers than writers. But yeah, to leave a legacy and to be able to write a book. Let me ask you, we'll jump around to a few fun ones real quick. But as far as books, what are some of your favorite books? Like, are you reading anything now? Is there a specific book that you like to give as a gift to somebody?
Wow, that's a good question. Whoa. There is a book I'm reading now, and I would love to answer that one. But a great gift is people judge me on this one, but Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights. That book was so good to me. And I was sitting around a table. There was Brad Mortensen, for owner of Repcar, Danny Pesci, Michael O'Donnell. There was like Devin Oaks. There was a whole group of people that went to this RoofCon, and we sat down and all of us were going around the table talking about favorite books. When it came to, and everyone listed these business ones. And when it came to me and I said green lights, they all, oh, of course, that one, me too. Everyone that I've mentioned that book to loves that book. It's so insightful, and it's not like he's giving lessons. It's like he's telling you what his beliefs are through stories of his life. He's like, so when I was going through this point in my life, this happened, and I thought, and you kind of like, wow, do I think that way? And it opens your mind to a perspective of health, about loving yourself, and about like accepting things for what they are and becoming almost stoic, I suppose, and believing in yourself. And people glean different things from this. And I think that book is super fun. If you do the audio, he reads it himself, but I've read it 2 times and listened to the audio once. It's great.
Good stuff, man. All right. And then podcast. What, you listen to podcast? Or is it...
I don't listen to I'm a reader. I like reading and studying. And podcasts are highly informational, and obviously I go on them and I see the value that they bring. I just am a reader. I just have been. You asked me 2 questions. One, what am I reading now? And then another one,
what are you reading now?
Where I see the industry going, and these kind of tie hand in hand. Am I good to answer that? Or
absolutely. Yeah. Please.
This book, I've been studying a lot of nuclear energy. And I actually talked with Jim Bunch about this quite a bit. And it's fun talking with him because he's so intelligent, and he's just way light years above me where I'm at in my career.
Love Jim Bunch.
He's an incredible man, and he has an opposing opinion of mine. And it's so nice to be able to talk to someone that is not egotistical, but highly educated. And we can have an intellectual conversation about it. We do agree on something, though, that reformation to the industry is coming, which is why SolarCon's theme this year is Together We Redefine the Industry. We know that needs to happen, and I saw that coming a mile away. I was actually part of forming NSA, which is now known as RSA, Residential Solar Association. I was one of the founding members in there and got some of the founding members to join, Jens and Hasem and some of the great minds that are in there. It was great to be a part of that. We all know reformation is coming. I went to this nuclear conference, and it was more like a Microsoft conference, where it wasn't like the stuff where I'm doing. It's like the dun music and Danny Pesci and Jake Hess putting their stuff all over their social media. That's not the nuclear industry. It's a true.
It'd be great if it was.
It's
you got
true
dubstep coming out, nuclear reactors. They're all fired up. Like, we're going fucking nuclear, baby.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about it. No. Yeah. It was more like Apple. It's like you walk in, it was like, wow, okay, now to tell you it's business time. Let's listen to this speaker. And they took it more seriously. And I thought, wow, this is probably how the solar industry should be treating themselves. The nuclear industry is doing it this way, which provides 20% of the U.S.'s power right now. Solar is at 2%. We all know solar is way behind the planet Earth. Germany beat us. Every place has beat the U.S. in solar almost. And we're also behind in nuclear. We are. And when I saw that they're producing 20% of the world's or the country's power right now, like China's about to open up 200 nuclear plants this year. Don't quote me on this year, but they have 200 nuclear plants in the works. And the US only has like a couple, I think. We already know that we have to do something, and that solar is not going to be the end all be all. If we had every single person on planet Earth stop what they're doing right now and start to mine the silicon and everything that we need, we wouldn't be able to mine it in time to save the whole planet. We wouldn't be able to, even if we did mine it, we wouldn't be able to fabricate the solar panels and distribute it in that time. And certainly we wouldn't be able to connect it to any type of grid and build a maintenance system by that time. We have a large obstacle because we have to mine the lithium for all the batteries, and like, we are not going to be off fossil fuels with solar alone. I think this is a joint effort. And I think we're seeing it's a joint effort between all the greens, wind, hydro, nuclear, and solar. And yes, nuclear is green. People don't know this. Oh, we're light years away. Did you know that all of the military submarines are powered by nuclear power? And it literally emits 0 emissions. If you put a little weed eater engine in a submarine and they were underwater, they would all die. They would come back up. Everyone would be dead because the exhaust coming from that thing, right? Nuclear can stand there for a year, 10 years. Doesn't matter. It does not emit emissions. Is that the right way to word that? Oh, it doesn't. Yeah. And so it is already that small. We can actually, it's called an SMR. We can actually build an entire community, a housing community around a reactor that's inside of a house. They're doing that right now. And, salination can happen. The steam that comes off that can be collected and create clean water for us. But I don't think that solar is the end all be all. Just like, back in the 1900s, the 1901, we did not have the internet. We didn't have it. Revolutionary things came to light. Like, for example, electricity was revolutionary. Telephones came in, Alexander Graham Bell. We have a lot of stuff that started to come to fruition that we never had before. And at that time, we didn't say, oh, I'm going to hold off for the internet. Like, if the phone system came out, you're getting a phone. That's how. If electricity came out, you have electricity. We're just not at the point right now where nuclear is massively accepted. We have a stepping stone, just like every other revolutionary thing that happened in our industry or in our planet, in our history. And solar is the best. It is right now, in my opinion, it is the best place to be for helping the planet go green. And it is also the most accessible. The only way you're getting into nuclear right now is basically if you're an engineer. They have a shortage of those. And I didn't go to school for nuclear, but I am studying it like crazy. And so one of the books I'm reading is, I've been diving into I've taken MIT courses on how these nuclear reactors work. Not how the reactors work, that's simple. But how the nuclear power works, like what happens when they split, and the amount of protons that split out of it. There's different levels of this uranium, and I've been learning this stuff because I think we're going to have to learn this stuff, to be honest. A lot of people don't know this. I also own NuclearCon and NukeCon and the Nuclear Academy and HydroCon and WindCon and SolarCon. And I also own EnergyCon, that all of them can go underneath. So yes, I have a long-term plan, and so does the world. We know that we need to do it. And if I had one good idea, thank God I had one, I'm just going to stick with that one and do it for the same for the other industries if I can. But I certainly need to learn it. And just like you were talking about, people need to learn loans and PPAs and give the best option to the homeowner. I don't think it would hurt us to learn about nuclear. I really don't, because I think it would strengthen our position in a home rather than be afraid of it. I think we lean into it and learn hydro and wind and where it's at and what technologies are coming out, because I really genuinely believe it would help us sell solar better. And further, I believe it will help us refine our industry better as well.
I'm so glad that you said that, and how everything has its place and there is no one end all be all. And I talk to a lot of people who, they feel everyone's so polarized and, oh man, we should go 100% solar. Well, if we went 100% solar, we'd all be dead. Oh no, forget solar, it just needs to be gas and the old school way of doing it. Well, no, solar has its place. So does wind. So does, clean gas and coal, like nuclear. It all has its place as far as energy is concerned in production. Energy is the most important thing on our planet. It's literally how we get shit done and how we live and how we survive. And coming up with new innovative ways to produce it is important. So it's refreshing to hear somebody say that it's not going to be just solar. It's going to take a group effort from a combination of all of these different options to kind of get us off of just fossil fuels, right? But fossil fuels still have a place. It's we just want to reduce that.
It's not just reduced, it's actually widely known. And I don't know if that's what you meant by this, but it's widely known that the planet, and I'm not saying this because I'm green. The planet literally has to be off of, there is a deadline that and it's talked about in The Inconvenient Truth. There is a deadline that if we do not stop carbon emissions by this deadline, then we will all perish. The planet will overheat. It's already happening. This is why COP28 was signed in Dubai recently. But I mean, think about it. Our planet was at 7 billion, and in my lifetime, we went to 8 billion. And it interests me when that announcement came out not too long ago, actually. And I Googled it. And if you see the accelerated rate that we are growing into the billions, I think it's projected that like 2 or 3 years from now, we're going to be at 9 billion. Wow.
In 2-3 years, we're going to be at 9 billion people.
It's like something like that. Google it. Like, I Googled population of the planet over time, and it will show you. And then I clicked on when it showed the projections, and they are projections. We don't know. But if you think about, we already know that in today's world, that the U.S. is building houses faster than we can put solar on the homes. We know that. Hopefully you guys know that. And so when we are at 2% power production from solar, we're actually going backwards. Homes are being built faster, and our population is being built faster than we can put panels on. So our 2% is actually going down. It is not going up. It's crazy. So we know that because we have this deadline, and at the rate that we're growing and our ability to install solar and mine it, and then lithium batteries, we already know that we're going to need other alternative options to help to hit this deadline. And, there's some people, doesn't matter what industry you're in. We're in the green industry. We're in the energy industry. Someone could be in the science, in, I don't know, biology. But depending on what industry you're in, someone could be in banking. Everyone has these COVID conspiracy theories. And when you start to talk to these levels of we're growing at this population and solar is not the only answer and we need other, when you start to talk about that, there's some people that think that COVID was, hey, if we need to shut the planet down and we need to stop emissions and not have a single vehicle on the road, what would it look like? And when you Google search, this one actually came from Jim Bunch. When you Google search, what happened to our planet, what happened to the botany, what happened to the animals, the wildlife, the water, when you Google search what happened to our planet during that time, it was the fastest healing. It was the fastest healing of our planet that we had ever seen. And it's just proof that these carbon emissions are destroying our planet, and we already know it. Our whole world already knows it. We already know it. But just like the sales reps, like the money's not quite there. The utility companies own everything. Like the sales reps are their conviction for selling ownership. It's not adjusting their commission. It's switching to TPO. It's the same thing. At least I feel like with these governments, it's the same thing. We already know that we have to be off of it, but it's too difficult to deal with the utility companies because they're a monopoly. It's like, okay, but there will be a time, if this fighting keeps happening, there will be a time where we will have to just have a massive shutoff. That's inevitable if we don't find the solution.
Wow, that's a crazy stat about during COVID when everything shut down.
I mean, if you're in banking, you could say it was a big reset of the financial. If you were in, maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm just saying it's kind of fun to think about, though, right?
It is. Yeah, it's an interesting theory and something to dive down into and to look at, and it makes sense in a lot of ways. But yeah, no, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
Well, look, Jake, man, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, taking the time, sharing some wisdom with everybody. Let's real quick for the audience, SolarCon. It's in 3 weeks. April
18th, 19th, 20th.
19th, 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Get there early. Stay a little bit later. Go snowboarding. But while you're there, for those in the audience, we're going to go ahead. Right now, I believe you can get up to 10%. There's still 10% off of tickets right now until midnight. You got 7 days for 10% off. Oh yeah, April 10th. Use code virtual. That'll get you an additional 10% off.
Nice.
So
we got you a code. I'm glad we did.
What's that?
We got you a code. I'm glad.
Yeah, I got the code, man. So for those of you, man, if you want to learn more about the industry, come see some sick keynote speakers. You're going to meet people from all over, the United States and different companies and manufacturers and different teams and panels. And I mean, last year was amazing. It truly was an incredible experience. And it'll open your eyes. You'll actually get to peek behind the curtain of what's going on in the solar industry. Maybe even run into Jake while he's
I
out
will
there.
be there.
Yeah. Any specific speakers that you're really looking forward to this year?
I'm not just saying this because you're on here, but Jim has been pretty amazing to me for no reason. He just invites me to go on walks with him for no reason, and I enjoy the friendship and I enjoy his wisdom. And I'm actually really looking forward to hearing him speak because I know what kind of impact he's had on me, and I can only imagine what he's prepared for the industry. I'm also really excited to hear all of the marketing that's a lot of this. We have a lot of CMOs coming, a lot of people speaking about marketing and building globally recognized brands and how to do your social media. It's not just social media panel, like people that are influencers. Like it's actually like, hey, how do I actually start social media, and what are the elements that I need, and how do I create it, and what are the ideas I should have? I'm pretty excited for the media aspect of it as well.
Cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be showing up Wednesday, bailing on Monday, and looking forward, man, to running into you while I'm out there.
It'll be good.
It'll be a great time. And then real quick, before you bail, you want to plug your socials? How can people find Jake Hess?
Just that, Jake Hess on Instagram, Jake Hess on Facebook. It is just Jake Hess. There's been some imposters that spelled a little different or put underscores or any of that stuff. It's just Jake Hess. And pretty easy to find me there. Or go to Google and just type Jake Solar. It should take you directly to those social medias if you're concerned about it.
Cool, brother. Well, hey, man, once again, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, and this has been a ton of fun.
Thank you very much, Jarrett. Thank you.
You got it. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey, guys. Thanks for tuning into this episode. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. You can also follow me on the socials, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. All those links will be listed below. Now, if you're looking to get started on the path to selling solar virtually, look no further than Powur. Powur is a decentralized solar platform that gives you the ability to sell 100% virtually in 25 plus states and growing. Their platform gives you the advantage to offer your clients a variety of different panels, inverters, roofs, batteries, and even EV chargers. Brands include Enphase, SolarEdge, Tesla, Franklin, and Span Smart Panels. Powur offers multiple zero-down financing options, including loans, PPAs, and leases. And with their revolutionary cost of goods sold model, 5 different streams of income, and world-class training, there is nothing else like it in the solar industry. If you're looking to get started, go to powur.com. That's POWUR.com/virtual solar pro/join and start selling solar virtually today.